I'm gonna be making cocktails in over 30 different ways, with each method getting crazier and more elaborate than the last, leading up to possibly the dumbest thing I've ever done on this channel. I am prepared in case things go wrong. I just really hope they don't. And we're gonna be using some of the craziest methods, with just one exception. We will not be making any of these cocktails with cocktail shakers. Starting off real easy, we have a canned cocktail. Oh my God, ugh. Absolutely not. This is awful. We can do so much better than that. We're gonna make a highball. A highball is a cocktail that's served in a tall glass like this, and it's super simple. We're going to grab our ice, do 1.5 ounces of gin, tonic water, and we're just going to fill this up. We're just gonna garnish with a little lime wedge, and cheers. Okay, so then how can you transform this into something a little bit more interesting? Well, we can make a ranch water. Grab a glass with a salted rim. We're gonna grab our sexy ice, 3/4 ounce of lime juice, 2 ounces of a great tequila. We're gonna grab some soda water. I'm using some Liquid Death. You can use whatever soda water you would like, and fill it all the way up to the top. Garnish with a little lime. There you have a ranch water. Then what if you really want to spice up your ranch water? Instead of just using a regular ice, you can infuse your ice with certain flavors, which is what we did. We grabbed strawberry puree, Aperol, a little bit of water, and made our own strawberry ice cube. But then instead of regular salt, I just rimmed this one with spicy salt. And then we're going to grab our strawberry ice cube, 3/4 ounce of freshly squeezed lime juice, 2 ounces of tequila, and of course, our Liquid Death just to give it those bubbles. As the ice starts to melt, the flavor will start to transform. The more you drink it, the more the drink evolves. Spectacular. Directly in a bottle. We're going to make a Batanga. So we're gonna grab our bottle of Mexican Coke, grab a lime, we're gonna rub it around the rim, and then we're gonna grab some salt, and we're just going to rim this bottle of Mexican Coke. And why are we doing this now? Well, because once we open this, we will not be able to rim it. Very carefully. If you're serving this for a guest, probably don't do this in a bottle. A 1/2 ounce of lime juice right in there. And to be as accurate to the recipe as possible, you need to be using El Tequileño. That's what was used in the original recipe. And we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of El Tequileño. I hope this works. And there you have a Batanga in a bottle. So good, so refreshing, really tasty. M&M, which is a shot. Mezcal, we're gonna do 1/2 of Mezcal. And the other M stands for Montenegro. So we're gonna do the other 1/2 Montenegro. Get it? M and M. Cheers. Stirring. 1 sugar cube. Try not to miss your glass. 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. I also like to do 2 dashes of Pache bitters. And then we're just gonna smash up this little sugar cube. 2 ounces of a bourbon. I'm gonna use Old Granddad's Bottled in Bond, which I really like for its high proof. Fill this up with ice, and then grab our bar spoons. And hey, it's not about the size of your tools. It's about how you use it. And honestly, the big ones sometimes are a little scary. So, and we're just gonna stir this down until it's nice, chilled and diluted. Nice clear cube, and we're gonna pour our cocktail right out. And then lastly, just to finish this up, we're gonna express 1 orange peel right over the top. And there you have one of the easiest stirred cocktails ever, the old fashioned. But what if you wanted to really upgrade this and really up your stirred cocktail game? Well, one of the easiest ways to do that is to smoke your cocktail. I have a little smoking gun thingy. We will put that there. We're gonna close this up. Normally you can smoke with wood chips and you're just gonna light them on fire and infuse the flavor in there. Grab yourself a torch and just light it up. And that'll slowly just start to fill the cloche up with smoke. And that will impart flavor into your cocktail. And you just wanna let it sit for a couple minutes, really take that smoke in, and then you can just... Another really fun way to infuse cocktails with smoke is with herbs. So we're gonna take some rosemary. We're gonna place our cocktail in one of these little seats here. We're gonna put our rosemary in an easily accessible area. And then we're just gonna light this on fire until it smokes up, and we're gonna close it so that it captures all of the smoke. And then after quite a little bit, oh, it smells lovely. Absolutely lovely. There's an even easier way to do this. You don't need fancy tools at all. So if you just have a regular cutting board, we'll grab our rosemary, make a nice little pile. What you can do is smoke the glass before you serve the cocktail. So we'll grab our torch, smoke that up, and then just let that smoke the glass a little bit. Just another way to infuse different flavors using smoke. Carbonated beverage. So we're gonna grab our ISI whipper and we're going to make a mojito right in here. 4 ounces of a white rum. We're gonna do 2 ounces of freshly squeezed lime juice, 2 ounces of simple syrup, a handful of mint, which, you know, it wouldn't be a mojito without mint. We're gonna do 2 ounces of water. We're then gonna lock this up. We are going to use some seltzer chargers, and these are CO2. And then we're gonna grab 2 cartridges of CO2 to make our own carbonated beverage. Shake that one up and then repeat. We're gonna grab our highball, whole ton of ice here, and now we're ready to go. And a nice little garnish for our mojito. And there we have a perfectly carbonated mojito without adding any soda water. So let's give this a little sip. Amazing. An incredible mojito. A blender. Instead of making something that you probably have already all seen, we're gonna make a cocktail called the Bacha, which is Brazil's second most popular cocktail. I'm gonna use a recipe that I've adapted that I use in my bar and restaurant every single day. So we're gonna do 1 ounce of coconut milk, 1 ounce of a sweetened condensed milk. I just cut it with a little bit of water so that it's a little more syrupy than goopy. 1 ounce of a passion fruit syrup, which I make with fresh passion fruit puree and sugar. 1/2 ounce of lime juice. We just need a little bit of citrus in here. 1/2 ounce of cinnamon syrup, just to add a nice little bit of spice to this. 2 ounces of an oak-aged cachaça. Then we're going to add our ice. Grab a glass that I rimmed with just a little bit of coconut flakes and a little bit of coconut milk. And then we're just gonna pour this out. I like to garnish this with an edible orchid. We have a beautiful blended cocktail, the Bacha. And just because you've seen like TGI Fridays use a blender all the time doesn't mean you can't get an incredible cocktail using a blender. So we're gonna make a Pache, which is one of the most classic ancient fermented beverages from Mexico. Yes, we're gonna ferment our own alcohol. What you need is a pineapple, and we need to make sure we're thoroughly washing the skins to make sure we get all of the dirt out. And then we're going to cut up our pineapple. What we want to do is keep the skins of the pineapple and the core of the pineapple. We're going to grab a jar. We're going to add all of our skins from the pineapple into the jar. And then next we're going to do piloncillo. And piloncillo is unrefined brown cane sugar. We're not going to do this whole thing. We're going to cut this in half. This is what's going to give the yeast something to eat to then be able to fart out the alcohol so that we can make the alcohol. And then lastly, we need to spice this a little bit. Traditionally, it is done with some cinnamon, and then we're also going to do some clove right in there. We're then going to add some water, and we want to make sure that we're covering all of the ingredients in there. And then once we have that, you're pretty much done. What we're gonna do then is grab a coffee filter, and then we're just gonna put a rubber band around it so that some of the gases can escape and so that this can continue to ferment. And all we have to do now is put this in a nice cool place for 48 to 72 hours. But we'll check back on this one later. Next up, we're gonna make a beer cocktail. This goes by many names. In Mexico, I think it's called a chelada. I don't know how to say it, and y'all are gonna make fun of me, and that's fine. We're gonna do about a 1/2 ounce of lime juice into a salted glass. Grab a nice Mexican beer. I'm using a Corona, and carefully pour it out. And last but not least, a little garnish. And there you have a beer cocktail. We're gonna make a peasant cocktail. And no, I'm not referring to you, though if the shoe fits. I'm just kidding. I like you guys. I'm not trying to insult you. But a peasant cocktail is a cocktail you basically build it right in the glass, you do a little bit of muddling, and that's kind of it. What we're going to do is build one of the most classic cocktails out there, the caipirinha. 1 sugar cube. The more traditional way to make a caipirinha, you use super fine sugar. We just have a sugar cube, so that's what we're gonna go with right now. We're gonna take a lime that's been cut up into fourths. We're gonna put it right in our glass, and we're going to muddle this so that we can break apart the sugar cube and really incorporate the lime juice with the sugar. And then we're going to do 2 ounces of cachaça, which is Brazil's national spirit. It's like a sugar cane rum. We're then gonna add our ice to our glass, and we're going to stir this up just to dilute it a little bit and to get the flavors all correct. And there you have a classic caipirinha, just building it in the glass. And let's check on our tepache. So it's been about 2 days, and I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there are some bubbles starting to form here at the top, meaning that it is slowly working. This one, so hopefully when we check in on this one tomorrow, it'll be looking a lot better and ready to drink. Now, for this next method, you're gonna need a coffee mug. And I know we said we weren't gonna be using a shaker, but that doesn't mean we can't shake a cocktail. And this is a great way to make cocktails when you don't have the tools available for you. We're gonna grab 1 shot glass. We're going to make a honey syrup. So we're gonna do about 1/2 ounce of honey. We're then gonna do 1 part water. And we're just going to mix this up to create a syrup so that the honey doesn't like congeal when we start shaking it. 1/2 of this into our coffee mug. And then we're just gonna freshly squeeze juice 1/2 of a lemon those words did not make sense, just juice a lemon, and you want about 1 part of lemon. And then we're gonna do 1 full shot glass of gin. I'm using St. George's Botanivore. Add ice. And then the reason why we're using a coffee cup is that it's insulated and there's a perfect lid so that we can just close that up, lock this up, and shake. And then we're gonna grab our chilled coupe glass, and just because we don't have tools doesn't mean we're savages, so make sure you're chilling your coupe. And then just unlock your little cup and pour it right out. And then we're gonna grab 1 dehydrated lemon, and there you have an impromptu bee's knees. And the next method that we're gonna make a cocktail is infusing. Typically you would make an infused ingredient, but I decided to make an infused cocktail. What I did was I cut up a bunch of pineapples and 3 slices of jalapenos. I did 8 ounces of tequila right in there, 4 ounces of freshly squeezed lime juice, 1 whole ounce of agave syrup, 2 ounces of Cointreau, and then I let it sit for about 48 hours. We're gonna grab our margarita glass with some spicy salt on the rim. We're gonna fill it up with some ice, and then we're just going to strain out some of our hot pineapple margarita. Oh, so good, spicy, perfect margarita. Swizzling. We're gonna make a Queen's Park Swizzle, which is an incredibly old cocktail. We're gonna grab some mint. We're gonna do about 8 to 10 leaves right into our tall Pilsner glass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 1 sugar cube right in there. We're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of freshly squeezed lime juice right into our glass. 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. And then we're gonna do 2 ounces of a good white rum. I'm using Privateer, which is local to me here in Massachusetts. And then we're just going to squish that sugar cube. I'm not trying to break up this mint. You're stronger than mint. Just lightly press it to break up that sugar cube so that it incorporates into this cocktail. And then we're gonna fill this up about almost all the way with our pebbled ice. If you have like cracked ice, you can do that too. I just happen to have a really awesome pebble ice machine, which I love. And this is where the cocktail gets its name from. We are going to swizzle this, which I actually don't have a swizzle stick. All I have is a bar spoon, which is okay. A swizzle stick is basically a piece of wood that has a bunch of little spiky edges on the end of it. It comes from a swizzle tree, but if you only have a bar spoon, that's cool. You're gonna put your bar spoon right in the middle there, and you're basically gonna rotate it back and forth with your bar spoon to really incorporate all the flavors. I'm like a swizzle machine. That out, we're gonna fill this up with more pebbled ice. And then lastly, we're gonna top this off with some bitters. Make it nice and pretty. I said lastly, but I lied. We need a couple of mint sprigs. We're gonna smack that on the palm of our hand, break that off, and then we're just gonna put that right in there. And there we have a Queen's Park Swizzle. So delightful. Such a classic way to make a tiki cocktail, and goddamn, that's so good. We're going to microwave a cocktail, but first we have to build it. So first we're gonna grab a microwave safe container. I actually can't believe I'm doing this. So we're gonna do 3/4 of a cup of gin. We're gonna do 3/4 of a cup of Campari. 3/4 of a cup of sweet vermouth. I'm using an Argentinian vermouth. And so here's where the fun begins. We now want to infuse certain flavors into this. Grab 1 grapefruit peel, big old grapefruit peel here. We're gonna grab 1 rosemary sprig, cut it in half and put it in there. And we're gonna infuse some blueberries in as well. We're gonna do just quite a few. Do as much as your heart contents. And so we're gonna grab our microwave. We're going to put our concoction right in there, close it up, and we're just gonna run this for about 3 minutes. Hopefully it doesn't blow up on me. So now let's grab this out of here. And we basically need to let this cool and then filter out all of this other stuff. All right, so now that we have our microwave Negroni, we're gonna grab our glass, 1 large cube, and then we're going to just strain this cocktail right in there. Get some of those blueberries in, and we have our microwave Negroni. Weirdly enough, you definitely taste the rosemary. The grapefruit added a nice little bitter element. And the blueberries, maybe it's just because they're blueberries, I didn't get that much flavor, and they're just kind of, I should have maybe mushed them and maybe did a different berry, like blackberries. Either way, the rosemary, you could definitely taste it. And who knew you could make a cocktail in a microwave? My mind is blown. And so here we have our Pache. It has been about 4 days. There are some bubbles that have happened here. It's been kind of bubbling. So now we need to filter this out and then taste it, and hopefully I don't get sick. Just smell that, smells lovely. Just gonna pour that out. And then we're gonna filter it through a coffee filter, but we're going to make sure that we rinse out this container once again. Pour this slowly so that we don't make a mess. Try to get it only through the coffee filter so that this can strain twice now. Make sure we get any solids or anything out of this. It's gonna take a while, so you're gonna have to give it a bit. So we're gonna make some Paloma Jello shots. First, we gotta juice this grapefruit though. So we're gonna grab our juicer, grab a cup, and then we're just gonna wanna strain this out. We don't want any solids in there. So what we have is 1/4 cup of grapefruit juice, which is the equivalent to, let's see how many ounces. You're looking at about 2 ounces of grapefruit juice, 1 ounce of lime juice, and of course, every recipe needs a little bit of sweetness, so we're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of agave syrup. And all of that gives us 1/2 cup. We need to heat this up and mix in the gelatin. So we're gonna grab our hot plate. Want to do it here, so we're gonna turn this on very low to medium heat, and we're gonna put our 1/2 cup of non-alcoholic mixture right into our saucepan. And then we're gonna grab our gelatin. We are using unflavored gelatin. We're gonna do 1 unflavored gelatin packet that we're going to slowly sprinkle over the top, and we're going to mix this in. So we're gonna grab our whisk, and we're gonna go slow and just mix as we pour. We do not want this to boil at all. We just want the gelatin to bloom over the next couple of minutes. And while that's heating up, let's get our tequila ready. We are gonna do 1/2 cup of tequila. So let's just pour that out. After it's been sitting for about 5 minutes and has cooled down, we're gonna then mix our alcoholic ingredient, which is our tequila. And we're just gonna mix this all up. That smells lovely. Make sure you're using additive-free tequila. Don't be a dummy. That's properly chilled. We're gonna actually put it back in here because it'll make it easier to pour. So we're just gonna do a couple of these here and let these set overnight. And tomorrow we'll have our Paloma Jello shots. Let's put these in a fridge. And so now we have our Pache. So how do we enjoy this? Well, super simple. Let's grab a glass, fill it up with ice, pour some out. And then if you want to get cute, you can even garnish it with a little pineapple frond, and I'm going to do a cinnamon stick just because I want it to look nice. And then just a couple of straws. Wow, that's tasty. It's like it's sweet, it's tart, it's got great flavor, it's definitely lightly alcoholic, and just an incredible fun little experiment. Really cannot recommend making Pache enough. Super simple to make, very tasty. We're gonna make Boozy Ice Cream. And we're gonna use a really simple recipe that I got from my friends Ben and Jerry. We're gonna make a very simple base, which requires no cooking. So we're gonna just do 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. And then we're gonna do 2 parts of a light cream. And then we're just gonna mix this up. I really should have just done this in a bowl, and I'm not really sure why I did it this way, but don't be an idiot like me. Just be smart. Don't do it in a quart container. Put it in a big bowl, mix it up like a normal human being. And then basically for this recipe, all we wanna do is 1/2 cup of our cocktail right in there. So we're gonna make a passion fruit caipirinha ice cream. So let's do 2 ounces of our favorite cachaça, 1/2 ounce of lime, 1/2 ounce of sugar, simple syrup, I guess we could call it, and then a full ounce of passion fruit syrup. And we're a little over a 1/2 cup, but whatever. And we have this jam that we make here, which is like concentrated passion fruit pulp with the seeds in it. All this is gonna do is really up the passion fruit flavor and give us those nice crunchy elements from the seeds, which I love in passion fruit ice cream. We make some here at my restaurant, I love it. We can do 1 big bar spoon right in there. Maybe we'll do another one just for added flavor. And of course a pinch of salt. And now we're gonna wanna chill this and get it really cold before we put it into our ice cream machine. So I'm actually gonna put it back into our quart container. We're gonna really try to chill this as quickly as possible. And then we're gonna put it in the freezer for about 1 hour, 2 hours, and then we're gonna put it into our ice cream maker. I'm gonna put this back into our quart container. I'm gonna put it in an ice bath just for a little bit, and then we're gonna put it in the freezer. Side milk punch. This is one of the oldest methods that has been recorded in cocktail making. It comes from like the 1800s, and it's actually a method of preservation. So we're going to make a New York sour, and then we're going to clarify it. We're gonna do 2 ounces of a rye whiskey. I like to use rye whiskey in sour cocktails. We're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. And then we're gonna grab 1 lemon, and we're going to juice 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, and then 3/4 of an ounce. And then I like to do Angostura bitters just for a little added spice. We're gonna do 1 ounce of water in there. We're just going to mix this up so that it's fully incorporated. And now this is when things get fun. In a separate mixing glass, we're gonna do 1 ounce of milk. Yes, 100% whole milk. And what's going to happen is when we pour our cocktail from this mixing glass into the other mixing glass, immediately the acid in the lemon juice is going to start reacting with the milk, and it's going to curdle. And it's essentially going to take all of the color and the proteins out of this and keep it in the milk, and then we're going to filter it out. First time actually making milk punch, by the way, so hopefully this works out. Oh yeah, we can see the milk already starting to separate. That's funky, man. Whoa. And clarifying is fascinating because clarified cocktails in theory can last indefinitely. So you can just bottle this and just keep it in your fridge kind of forever. And then in our same mixing glass, we're gonna go ahead and get this ready. We're gonna grab a filter, we're gonna put it right there, and we're gonna grab a coffee filter. And then we're gonna put the coffee filter right into our funnel. Filter this out through a coffee filter. And you don't wanna throw out the milk curdles because that's what's going to help us filter this cocktail if we have to do it again. So we're just going to pour this all in here and let it keep dripping out.
Eternity later.
And now we are going to grab a low ball. And what's a clarified cocktail without clear ice? We're going to put clear ice. We're going to pour our cocktail over this. And we're not done because the New York Sour isn't complete without a layer of red wine. We're going to layer Malbec slowly over the top just to create a beautiful garnish and also enhance the flavor. And there you have a clarified New York Sour. What a fun way of making a cocktail. Such a fun little experiment. And now we're gonna break out our ice cream maker. And our ice cream mixture has been chilling for well over an hour now. It is quite cold. Put it in the freezer. Ooh, it's already starting to firm up. So we're just gonna dump that right in there. Power it on. All right, and then we're just gonna wait for this to finish up and we're gonna have our incredible boozy ice cream. Let's make some cocktail caviar. And we're going to make guava caipirinha caviar. So we're going to do 2 ounces of guava syrup that we make in-house, 1 whole ounce of lime juice, 1 whole ounce of simple syrup, and 4 ounces of a good cachaça. We're gonna use Noble Fogo's still strength, or bar strength. 2 and 4. We're gonna grab our precision scale. Our cocktail weighs 225 grams. So we need to do 1% of that in agar powder, but we need to heat this up, bring it to a boil, and cut the heat immediately. We need to activate the agar. We know that we need 2.2 grams of agar. We're gonna measure that out right now. We'll grab our hot plate, and then we're going to add our cocktail right in there and slowly mix in our agar so that it doesn't clump up. We just want to basically activate the agar just as it's about to reach boiling, and then we will cut. Oh, and it's starting to boil. We're going to cut the heat right there. And then I'm going to pour it back into here because it's going to help with this next step. We are then going to put our cocktail into a squeeze bottle. If you have a syringe, that works too. So and then you're gonna need some cold vegetable oil. I've actually been chilling this vegetable oil for a little bit, and now you'll get to see why we needed a squirt bottle. And as we start to drop these in here, it should start to form pearls, which will sink down to the bottom. And so after those have settled for a bit, I like to use a julep strainer, and you can start to pull some out and drain them. We're gonna wanna grab a nice, clean, cold water bath, and we're basically gonna take our spheres from here and put them in here just so we can kind of clean them out. And then the water and the oil will separate, the caviar will float to the bottom, and there you have cocktail caviar. So we can eat them. Ooh, tastes like a guava caipirinha. And we're just gonna put them in this shot glass so you can kind of see them. Hopefully you can kind of see that they are all like circular and bubbly, and a super fun way to make a cocktail and elevate your skills. Delightful. All right, now let's take a look at our adult Jello shots. I'm just gonna try to get it out of this so I can show you. Ah, nice. And there we have our adult Jello shot. Definitely delightful and much better than any Jello shot I had while in college and in high school. That is so good. I love that. That's a great Jello shot. All right, so it looks like our ice cream machine stopped moving, so we're gonna stop it right there. Turn it off. We're gonna grab our, oh, that looks awesome. Look at that. Let's grab a spoon. All right. Ooh, looks luscious. That is stupidly good. I get some of the lime, I get the passion fruit, I get some of the cachaça there, and that's very tasty. That's really good. I do think that if I were to redo this recipe, I might actually do more of the caipirinha flavor because it's there, but it's not super present, but it's definitely there. I'll tell you that. Oh my God, that's incredible. What if we used coffee to make a cocktail? So first we're gonna grab our mixing glass and we're going to make a very simple Negroni. So 1 ounce of our gin, 1 ounce of our sweet vermouth, and 1 ounce of our Campari. Add ice and stir this down until it's nice chilled and diluted. We're then going to place a coffee filter right over this, and then we're gonna grab a blender. And yes, I know I don't have an actual coffee grinder. Stop making fun of me. So we have fresh coffee beans, and we're gonna try to grind up our own coffee here with the blender. I don't know if that's gonna work. I'm not a coffee expert. Let's try it though. Oh, that smells incredible. Oh my gosh, all right, so then let's grab this and we're going to pour our coffee into our coffee filter. Slowly pour our cocktail over this. It's not going to, be like regular coffee where it's gonna like bloom and you can see like a foam, but you're just gonna wanna let it filter through there. It's gonna take a while to get through all of that. We're probably gonna lose some of the Negroni into that. Now we have our coffee filtered Negroni. Let's grab a large cube and then we're just gonna pour it out right over the top of this. And then we're gonna express 1 orange peel over the top because we want that orange brightness to help in this cocktail as well. And there we have our coffee filtered Negroni. Whoa, that is mind-blowing. That is such a great way to make a cocktail, especially a Negroni. But that coffee gives it that amazing kick right at the end there, and it's so freaking fun. I'm really enjoying this one. Oh my gosh. All right, so the next method that we're going to make a cocktail in is we're going to sous vide it. We're gonna use a sous vide, which is essentially a water bath, to cook our ingredients to infuse them. While this is getting up to temperature, we are going to just set that aside for a moment and we're gonna get some ingredients ready. So we're gonna grab our little container here, we're gonna grab our cutting board, and we're gonna grab 1 banana. We're gonna chop up our banana in small wheels. We're going to put that right into our container. And then we are actually going to use the banana peels themselves to infuse some flavor. And then we're gonna also put them in our container. We are going to make a banana daiquiri. So we're gonna grab our white rum and we're going to do 4 ounces of white rum. Actually, we're gonna triple this recipe. We're gonna make 3 daiquiris. We're gonna do 6 ounces of white rum. We're going to do 2.5 ounces of lime juice. We're gonna do 2.5 ounces of simple syrup. And then just for a little bit of spice, we're gonna do some clove right in there. Not too much, not that much, just a little bit. And then we're going to transfer this into a food safe Ziploc bag. And we're just going to dump that right in there. Make sure we get all of our ingredients in there. Hot water bath right here. You can see that it's at 145. So we're basically going to cook this at 145 for about an hour or so. You're gonna wanna get all of the air out and the hot water is going to help you do that. It's gonna make it rise to the top. And then we're going to close that up. And then you have a pretty well vacuum sealed bag where everything is in contact. And now we're going to just basically leave this in here for like the next hour. So this has been cooking for about an hour and a half. And then we're gonna take this and immediately throw it into an ice bath so that it stops cooking. And then once that's nice and cold, we're going to open this up and we're going to safely strain our cocktail. Before we prepare our cocktail, we're gonna prepare the garnish. I saved 1 banana wheel. We're gonna coat it with some demerara sugar on both sides here. And then we're just gonna caramelize this banana. We're gonna grab 1 chilled coupe. You want this to be very chilled because our cocktail needs to be cold. And then we're just going to pour it right in there. It's already diluted and it's ready to go and it's fully infused. And last but not least, our caramelized banana. That is so tasty. The banana flavor feels super natural. It is fully incorporated into the cocktail. You get those hints of clove, which I actually think combine beautifully with the banana, and the daiquiri is just delightful. That is so good. And the sous vide technique is great because you can do that with you can make so many syrups out of it without it feeling artificial. And I think that's the beauty of the sous vide technique. Make a cocktail air, which is essentially like a like foam with cocktail in it. Boozy foam. First, we're gonna get our drug dealer on, and we need a precision scale. We're gonna want to grab a container. I'm gonna do the see-through one, so hopefully you guys can see it. We're then gonna put it on our scale, and we're going to zero our scale. It is set to grams. We're gonna build a very simple caipirinha, but we're gonna make a passion fruit caipirinha, not a regular one. We're gonna do 2 ounces of cachaça, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. We're gonna do 1 ounce of a passion fruit syrup, and then we're gonna just do a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. And water is super important to a cocktail, so 3/4 of an ounce of water. So we have about 130 grams of our cocktail. We want to do anywhere between 0.6 and 1% of that with our next ingredient, which is soy lecithin. And so what is 1% of 130? I don't know how to do math. I think that's 1.3 grams. So that's why we need a precision scale. So we're going to measure 1.3 grams of soy lecithin. Pour that right into our cocktail there. And now we need our next specialty tool, which is an immersion blender. I guess this could work with a regular blender too, but whatever. Let's put that in there. And you're going to want to mix this up for quite a while. And now once you have your foam, you can then top your regular caipirinha with a passion fruit caipirinha bubbles. And it's retained its shape, it's gonna retain its flavor, and you have a really fun way of basically creating a caipirinha that will evolve as you sip it and drink it. So your first sip will be passion fruit caipirinha, but then you get a regular caipirinha down below. We've done coffee filtered cocktails. What about tea? First, we're just gonna build a very classic martini. We are going to do 2 1/4 ounces of a great gin. I'm using a Martini gin, which is a gin from Brazil. And if you haven't seen already, I have an entire video on my channel where I actually competed in a cocktail competition with a Martini. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made. Go check it out. We're going to do 3/4 of an ounce of a Blanco vermouth. I'm using one from Argentina. And then we're going to do 2 dashes of orange bitters. Now we are going to stir this down until it's nice, chilled, and diluted. And normally you would chill your glass, but this is gonna take a little bit, so we're just gonna not do that. We're gonna grab a regular coupe, and we're just gonna strain this cocktail out. So we have our martini here, and we have our tea. What I did is that these were big pieces. I actually put it in the blender to break it up, make it really small, so that it'll actually infuse a little bit quicker. And so we're left with nice broken up butterfly blue leaf tea. And we're just gonna put some right into our infuser here, our tea infuser. Close that up, and then we're just gonna put that right into our cocktail. And we're just gonna let it sit there for a couple minutes. You can probably just put this in the fridge and just watch for like 5 minutes or so.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new...
As you can see, some of the pieces got out of here, but our cocktail completely changed colors. So what we're gonna do is actually strain it out of here, get rid of all of those loose leaf tea pieces out, and put it into a chilled coupe. And I probably could have just built this all in the mixing glass and then done this, but whatever. Stop judging me, make it yourself. And now for our chilled coupe glass, and we're gonna put our awesome tea infused martini back in here. And then there's one last step that we're going to do. We're going to express a lemon peel over the top. And there we have our tea infused gin martini. That is lovely. And it's a beautiful purple color, and it's infused with tea. Lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. We're going to make some cocktail pods. So what we're going to need is a glass container, 1 liter of filtered water, and we're gonna need 2 specialty ingredients. We're gonna need sodium alginate and calcium lactate. Basically, we're gonna use a process called reverse spherification. So first, we need to make a solution of 0.5% of sodium alginate to our liter of water. So we are first going to just pour our liter right into our glass container that we're going to use to mix this in. To do a 0.5% solution, we're going to do 5 grams of our sodium alginate. And then once you have your 5 grams, what you want to do is grab your immersion blender and start blending up the water. And then we're going to slowly start to pour this in there and let it start blending up. And then essentially what you're going to be left with is a very thick water. But what we want is for these bubbles to dissipate. So we're going to let this sit for about an hour to an entire day so that all of the bubbles are gone. But it's okay because we have other things we need to do in the meantime. So I'm going to put a lid on this and we're going to let it sit. And so next we need to make our cocktail. And it's important to measure out these ingredients because we need to introduce our calcium salt, which is going to bind and mix with the sodium alginate and create the membrane for our pods. And then we're basically going to do 2% of the volume of the cocktail in our calcium lactate. So first we got to build this cocktail. And you know what? Let's make a fun tequila old fashioned. Let's do 2 ounces of reposado tequila. I'm going to use mi gente. We're going to do a 1/4 ounce of agave syrup, or a 1/2 ounce of agave syrup actually. And we're going to do a couple of dashes of mole bitters. And we need to do about 1 ounce of water. Again, to make up for the fact that we're not stirring this. And so we see that we have 114 grams. So we need about 2.2 grams of our calcium lactate. And so let's measure out 2.2 grams. We're just going to put that right into our cocktail. And we're going to mix this up. We have our little ice cube tray, and we're just going to put our cocktail in these to freeze. We're going to let these freeze overnight. So our sodium alginate bath, we let it sit overnight so that it could stop being bubbly, but now we need to heat this up to about 125 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to grab our hot plate once again, and we're going to gently place this in here, and we can heat it up to our desired temperature. And so we got to be careful because we don't want to make bubbles, and we want to just make sure that we can get this to about 125 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so we got our bath to about 130. We're going to take it off the heat, and we're going to return our sodium alginate bath into our glass container. Try not to make any bubbles with this. And then we're also going to need 2 very cold water baths. So there's some ice floating in this last one, but hopefully you can see all 3. Our pods. We have 1 pod here, so we're going to put it lightly and leave it in there, and we're just going to swirl around it in the hopes that it forms a surface around it, and just let it sit so that the membrane can form around it while it slowly starts to thaw out. And then we're going to drop it into our cold water bath, swirl that around, and then into the other cold water bath. All right, well, look, it's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but we do have 1 cocktail pod. It looks like a heart. I'm going to eat it now, and let's see how it goes. Wow, it just like burst in my mouth, and it tastes like a tequila old fashioned. That was one of the coolest experiments I've ever done. That really just blew my mind. And what now? Well, we're gonna do possibly the dumbest thing I think I've ever done on this channel. We're gonna deep fry one of these. Yeah, you heard me, deep fry them.
All right, so what do we have? We have our breadcrumbs, we have flour. We have to make an egg wash first. So I'm gonna crack this open. I'm gonna grab a whisk, and we're gonna get started. Now, this is super dangerous, and please don't try this at home because it could blow up in your face, and hopefully it doesn't blow up in mine. 1 of our tequila old fashions in flour. Coat that. So it's coated in flour. Now we're gonna coat it in egg. This is literally the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. And now breadcrumbs. Also, shout out to Cocktail Chemistry for this recipe as well. He did it on his channel, and I couldn't believe that it was real, so I needed to do it myself. All right, so 1 ready to fry cocktail pod. Let's prepare a couple of backups just in case. We're gonna do these 3. We have some oil in our pan, not too much. We're gonna heat that up. I am prepared in case things go wrong. I just really hope they don't. I'm very nervous about this. I think we're good to go. We're gonna start with the little one and see what happens. All right, it's slowly starting to fry. We're gonna go with another little one. This is so insane. I am not a chef, I'm not a cook. I make drinks. All right, we're going with one of the big ones. Oh God. Oh no, I think it's starting to splatter. One of them might be leaking. We're gonna get that out. We're gonna get this out. This one's still intact. Keep frying this one. Let's have one of the small ones first. I think that one just got cooked all the way through. It just tastes like fried dough. All right, now for one of the ones that are obviously still intact. This is so dumb. I should have let that cool down. The liquid inside is very hot because it was obviously fried. That was a dumb move on my part. Man, I really burnt my tongue on that cocktail. Things I never thought I'd say 2023. All right, we have one more. I think it was one that I took off first. So I'm literally eating a tequila old fashioned. It's nice and crunchy on the outside. I should probably season my flour. It just tastes like flour and breadcrumbs. But yeah, it's crunchy. You taste like tequila old fashioned. It's weird. Wild. It's really strange. It's weird. Oh shit.